Hey all, so this is a really important video, and I'm not going to say it's necessarily important in terms of like the scope of everything that's ever been, but this is just important for you to kind of understand. I was going outside just to sort of take care of some business, and there was a car parked right in front of a stop sign, and I live on a corner, so it's important that the corner be accessible and not have a car parked directly in front of the stop sign. That's a no parking zone universally. Okay? And the problem is, the reason why that car was parked there is that there's an estate sale right across the street. You know, someone died, and their home and all its possessions are being auctioned off to the highest bidder. While I find that morbid and objectable, it's, I guess, legal. Anyway, the point is, I asked this old guy who was going across the street to the estate sale if he could let that person know that they need to move their car. Well, he was like, well, you can just call the cops on them and they'll come and ticket them. I'm like, you know, first off, what a jerk. He would rather a person got a ticket than give a person a heads up that, you know, that's going to get them ticketed, and they really just need to move their vehicle. No, instead he's going to suggest that everyone else do work rather than he do one little thing. Okay? Because he was literally suggesting that I call the cops come all the way down there, write the car owner a ticket, that then the owner of the car has to then go through all the stuff around traffic court and parking and all this other stuff, and all these other people get hassled because he couldn't be bothered to look for the owner of, I think it was a maroon Nissan or something like that. He couldn't be bothered to do that for other people, and it's like, what is wrong with you? Now, this guy was a bit of an old fart, and he's going to an estate sale to buy stuff, so obviously he's a greedy cuss. But, you know, I just have a huge problem when you get to these people who cannot be bothered to actually just be kind, all right? They can't be bothered to do that little bit of extra effort in order to help other people, in order to do a kindness. Because me, I don't care if the person gets a ticket. I don't want, this is not a regularly recurring thing. I just want them to move their car because they're obstructing a street corner, which poses a safety hazard for me and for other people. Because if there's a car parked right in front of the stop sign, then a pedestrian could get hit, a car pulling up to that corner could get hit. It is not a safe thing, and you're not allowed to do that. And this guy would rather other people be put through all of this hassle, effort, and work than he need to be bothered for one moment with his day. And it's like, what is wrong with you? Why wouldn't you bother? You know, what is so awful? What is so important about your day that you can't be bothered to, you know, let someone know, hey, you know, you're going to get towed. Now, when I went back out there a little while later, I think it was a half hour later, the car was moved. So presumably the person maybe saw what was being sold and then moved on with their day. But it was really stupid that we had to go through this conversation. And it just occurs to me that this is what we're dealing with. This is what we're dealing with a lot of people in this country right now, with the United States, that there are people who are so self-involved that they can't be bothered to handle anything other than their own business. The phrase, not my circus, not my monkeys, has been tossed around so much that it's become people's, you know, modus operandi, their whole way of doing things. And it is so disgusting. Because it's like, well, what about the common good? What about cluing someone in that, what they're doing is going to get them in trouble, or for that matter, picking up litter. This is actually something I've had to deal with personally. I was walking along a busy sidewalk, and nobody else bothered to pick up all this litter that got strewn around from some mail-out thing. It was a bunch of flyers for some shopping. I guess it was out of a newspaper. I don't know, but it was like the stuff you get in the mail. And I was like, there's all this litter along here. And it's a suburban pathway. It's very commonly walked, so enough people were walking by there and not one of them bothered to really pick up a lot of that trash. I think I had a plastic bag with me, so I picked up a lot of it and got as much as I could off the ground. Another time I was on the bus, and there was a bottle of some fruit punch rolling around. And I was like, I said to a person, could you please hand me that bottle? And they're like, it's not mine. I'm like, it's not a matter if it's yours. I'm asking you to hand it to me so that I can dispose of it. Because it's garbage and it shouldn't be rolling around on the floor in the bus. That's an inconvenience to someone else. And it just hits me when this is the mode of thinking that people have been taught and raised with and that they implement in their daily lives. Because here's the thing. I was working with some youth offenders one time. These are guys who, when they were teens, got into a lot of trouble. Okay, they spent some time in juvenile court and eventually in juvenile hall, which is basically kid prison. And the idea is that they're going to be reformed, but a lot of these guys got out of the system simply because they aged out and were allowed at that point to wander the streets as free citizens. Well, here's the problem. I'd be working with them, and this was on an urban farm, all right? And I would say to them, hey, could you make sure to tie up the hose reel, rather, really neatly? Could you make sure that the hose goes on there really neatly so that it'll come off neatly? And they were like, well, but what do I care? I just want to get that done and get out of here. I'm like, it doesn't. Well, first off, it probably won't take you that much extra time. Secondly, you're probably going to be the next guy to use that hose. Because, you got the water hoses. We use them every day. I was like, you're probably going to be the next guy to use that hose. And if it's all tangled up, then it's going to be a huge problem for you. And you'll have created that problem for yourself. And it's better if we have to deal with less of this. If we take that little bit of extra time and care, then we'll be less frustrated. And it didn't occur to them that that was the case. So after a very short amount of time, when they started doing that and taking that bit of extra time, wouldn't you know it, they actually ended up having less stress on the job. They felt better because just that one thing was taken care of. They were having to deal with fewer kinks in the hose, fewer problems reeling up the hose just because they did it neatly. And it's like, there's that little bit of extra care that you take for everything, and it makes the difference. And it's not necessarily just for you, it can be for the next person, and that's what matters. You could be the next person. So if you leave something nice, or if you take care for another person, then they're going to look out for you, and that's how community works. That's how society works. And it doesn't occur to people that, that it isn't necessarily just about what you get out of it, but also you're a better person for having taken the time and bothered, So if you're sitting there being selfish and being unkind to others, then you're going to have a harder time in life because you're not looking out for others. You're not looking out for the team or for your friends or for anyone. You're just looking out for number one. And that's a recipe for disaster because eventually it's going to come back on you. You might get by for a while with good luck being able to just, cope and get through things, and other people will be kind for you. But it's only a matter of time before other people get sick of your crap and you're isolated and alone and you don't have anything. Okay? So don't be like those people. If you have a plastic bag, a plastic grocery bag or something, use it to pick up a little litter off the bus so that it's not sitting there or rolling around and whatever. If you see some litter on the street that can be picked up, or if you yourself are tempted to drop litter, don't put it where it doesn't belong. If you want to spray graffiti or damage property, don't. If you can see that someone's going to get in trouble or have a problem, try to intervene, try to help. And if it's unclear if it's a situation where you should intervene, ask, do you want my help? Do you need me to help? Can I be of assistance? If you can't, then people will tell you no thanks, or they just won't acknowledge you or whatever, and you can just move on with your day. But the important thing is that you tried, you made the effort to do that one little thing that could make a huge difference for people. I've occasionally, what was it? One time I was walking into a book resale place, and I had this huge box of books, and it's like, yeah, I could put it up on my shoulder precariously and, gently open the door and whatnot, but there was a kid standing right there, and so I asked, could you please get the door? And, kid went ahead and did it. I moved on with my day, and I made sure to say thank you. It's really not that hard to just be that little bit considerate or kind to others. It isn't a huge challenge. It's not going to hurt. It's just something that's going to take a little bit of your time, but it's going to make a huge difference for the world. Because if we all do just that little bit of work, if we do that 1/20th of an effort on anything, and take that little bit of extra time out of our day, not only is it going to help others, but we're going to feel better about ourselves for the day, that we were kind to others, that we did the right thing when we had the opportunity. So that's the word I'm going to leave you with, is just take that little bit of extra time. Don't just see things from your own perspective and abandon anyone else to, being helpless. Don't say there's nothing I can do. Don't say, oh, well, you should do this. Don't try and come up with solutions for other people, because that's a big problem. But if you can help by intervening or assisting in some fashion without just telling the person you should do this, then do so. Thanks. Bye.